Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you. Today, you may think this is kind of going a little bit backwards a bit because the 7000 series graphics cards have been out a little while. But the 7950 wasn't something that I really spent a lot of time on. I've got 7970s all over the place. But every now and then a manufacturer sends you something in to have a little bit of a play with. And it can kind of make you take a little, a fresh look at things and think to yourself, I need to be covering that. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Club3D Royal King. Now they're still working on getting their products out in the UK market at the moment, and I mean kind of readily available. So they need to get a new distributor and then obviously get them out to retailers and stuff like that, which is something I hope they do quite soon, because we reviewed 7850 recently and that was awesome. Now we're going to be taking a look at this today. Now what we'll do is we'll do it the kind of normal way. I'll show you some benchmarks and then we'll move on to the conclusion at the end. So really, I'm going to grab my trusty remote and then I'm going to bring you all in for a closer look. See, I always do need to remember to press the button. So this is normally the bit where I'd have you on a tripod, but it's easier for me to just walk you around this today. You can see that we're on a Rampage 4 Extreme. So size wise, if you've got a normal ATX motherboard, that will be where your motherboard stops. So a normal ATX board, it's going to hang a little bit over the edge. With something like the Rampage, it fits on the board quite tidily. So that will give you a good gauge for size. 2 6-pin power, normal 7950 type of stuff. There is a BIOS switch up here, but as you can see, we've got a red PCB. Now a lot of people would think, you know, that's kind of days gone by for AMD, but if you have a look at it in the Rampage with the red fan and everything like that, and they've obviously got bits of red on the board, it doesn't look too bad. I think it, you know, kind of matches alright. I'd still would prefer a black one, but there's many people out there that don't even care what the inside of their PC looks like. Once they've got, you know, cables all over the place and stuff like that, they really don't care. If you can hear any whining, it is the classic H80 twin fan buzz, but these are performance fans and they're on 12 volts because I've got my H100 off at the moment because of the H100i review. That will be up shortly, so that's why that's on there. So any noise that you can hear is coming from that and not the card. Now the card fans are a strange size because, oh, without sticking my fingernail in, if we line it up, I don't think you're going to be able to see, but if I do it with my finger, they're about 85 mil. They're just a bit smaller than 90, definitely not 92s, but they are a funny size. And obviously you can see with the shroud, it does, you know, it does just go round the outside of the card. But kind of normal layout on the back, 2 DVIs, HDMI, 2 mini display ports, all pretty standard stuff. So that's the aesthetics. Like I said, I know the red PCB is going to put a lot of people off. I know a lot of people aren't really going to give a monkeys as long as it works. But then there are the other people that are kind of going to waver and maybe get my point of view with the red detailing. But anyway, what we should do now is get you on the tripod again so you stop feeling seasick, and we'll start to look at some benchmarks. Right then, my lovelies, so Afterburner might seem like a strange thing to start off with the benchmarks. I want to explain something. This card at stock is pretty much like all of the OEM 7950s. The little bit of clock increase with it to stick straight in your rig doesn't really make a lot of difference, to be fair. At stock, if we were just doing it on stock results, it wouldn't have set the world on fire for me at all, and I probably wouldn't be making this video in the first place. Now, something else I do have to say to you is, don't forget the silicon lottery. The stuff I'm going to show you here now applies for my card only. Yours may be slightly different, may need less voltage, may not clock so well, may not do this, yours may even be better. So don't take this as, you need to remember that just because this is a 7950 Club3D Royal King doesn't mean if you buy exactly the same card you will get exactly the same results, or, you know, be able to overclock the same here. This is just what we're going to, I can show you with my card. It's a good indication of what you may be able to get, but then at the same time, there may be better cards out there. There may be ones that are a lot worse. So I just need to clear that disclaimer up. Now, we've tried to unlock everything with Afterburner. We've not been able to get it any further than this. But just to show you, how simple this was, we can put it up to that. We put the power limit right the way up to plus 20. I had up here for the millivolt is 1200. Some may need more. Don't forget yours may also need less. Less volts means lower temperatures, remember. Now, core clock megahertz. The most we were able to get was right to the end, 1200. Memory clock. Most we were able to get was right to the end, 1575. You can quite literally turn all those two right to the end and it will run absolutely spanking. Passed all of our tests. Even Vantage, which was a miracle because Vantage is so taxing. So yeah, we've got a 7950 that you can run at amazing overclocks. Now you may be thinking to yourself, what kind of difference does this have when you put that into benchmarks and compare it with another card? Well, if you give me a sec to bring the screenshots up, I will show you. Right then peeps, moving on to the benchmarks, we'll go through them as we normally will. Now on this left hand side we have a GTX 680, but it's the Gigabyte GTX 680 Super Overclock, and it's also been overclocked. So this was the maximum stable overclock we managed to get on a 680. And then over here we've got the Club3D with its overclock results. So we've got a 7950 overclock versus a GTX 680 dedicated overclock card overclock. Okay, so what I have done here is I've put the 7950 up against a card that is not only a kind of, not a generation, but like a brand upwards, because you would normally kind of put the 7950 against like the 670, but we've put it up against the 680, which is like the model up from the opposing brand, but then also a dedicated overclocking card as well. So we're making the life massively difficult for the 7950. But if you have a look, we get 10,767 points in 3D Mark 11P, but the 7950 is 10,086. So yeah, okay, fair enough, it's about 700 points behind. But look at that score, it's 10,086 for a 7950. So if we move across, for X mode, we get 37,339 for the 680 in overclocked, and then with the 7950 you get 3,360. So again, yeah, fair enough, there's 400 points there, but look how close those scores are. Moving on swiftly again, if we have a look here, 42,325 as an overall score for the 680, 42,341 for the 7950. So we've got a GPU score over here of 40,933 against 41,172. Now you can also see that the CPU score was ever so slightly lower with the 7950, because this one over here was 47,131, this one over here was 46,283, and yet, even with the CPU score difference, the whole 3D Mark score is still above the 680. So moving on quickly again, you can see here the lead's still there, and you can see the CPU scores are still the same as well, but we get an overall score of 21,869 against 22,464. And then we got a GPU score of 21,269 against 21,864. So in 3D Mark Vantage, which is a massively GPU dependent score, and something that I also do need to kind of point out is Vantage loves physics, and I mean loves physics. That is why the CPU score is lower on the AMD card, because the reason why the CPU score up here over here is higher is because it's not having to process physics. So really, the NVIDIA with this, you would almost expect it to be higher because you get a CPU score boost and you obviously still leave physics in there, but still the Vantage score on the AMD card is higher. So that's, you know, those scores are epic. Now we could go through and, you know, show you loads of games and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, that would all be well and true. But you're going to get a good feel for this, and I can cover the majority of what's left to be said now in the conclusion. So we'll move on to that, and I'll chat to you about my thoughts on this little card. Right then, peeps, conclusion time. And it is a bit of a strange one, really, because as I said, if we were just going to base this off of the out the box, put it in your rig stock results, it probably, in all honesty, bronze, maybe scrape to silver, depending on the price. But the thing with this card is, if you're going to buy it and just stick it in your rig and forget about it, it will still be a good card, it will serve you well, but you will not be getting the most from it. This card's kind of, considering the branding, this card's ace card is the Overclocking Potential. Now obviously, to be able to, you know, accurately talk about a brand like this, Overclocking Potential, you kind of need to test a load of cards, you know, all from the same sort of batch, and you know, all from different batches, sorry, but the same brand. But things are getting far too complicated with that, so we'll talk about the one that's here. Obviously yours may be a little better, could be a lot better, could be a little worse as well, but I showed you with the overclocking results that it's kind of like click, 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 click. I would assume most of them core dependent, because obviously you do need to bear in mind of the Silicon Lottery, will do this. But this is one of the reasons why we decided to give it the gold award, because if you do put a little bit of time in overclocking it, I would assume most of them will do around the 1050 plus, maybe get up to 1200. Memory again will be dependent. I would have thought most of them will be doing more than 1450, but you may be able to max it out like we did. Just watch the voltage at the top. You don't just want to spin it to the end. You want to make sure that you're running the lowest voltage possible for a stable overclock. Because that's what overclocking is about. It's not just about smashing stuff in. It's about working out, you know, the best settings for you. And lower voltage means lower temperatures. The core clock themselves doesn't really impact temps as much as you would think. So with this, we managed to absolutely spam out Afterburner. Some other overclocking tools may be able to get you a little further, but Afterburner is still the most stable one. Some of the other ones can get a little bit shaky. I've actually had Afterburner stable with a clock before, tried a different tool and it wouldn't even let me get that far. So even though some of them may let you go further, theoretically, because of the stability of that program itself, it's not necessarily worked that well. But anyway, so with this, we managed to be able to max Afterburner out, didn't max the volts out. Temps were all kept in check as well. I can't remember off the top of my head what they were. I should have looked really. But the fans never really spin up. The noise that I can hear today is all coming from the H80 because of the fans going through it. It's only where it's the performance model fans on it, by the way. The card itself couldn't hear, and we have it in an open test bench as well. And the reason why we use an open test bench is because then our ears can tune into the card more, and it's a much more critical test. People may say, oh yeah, but if you have it in a case, and it's just like, well yeah, duh, you don't need to be telling me that, but we run it outside so we can tell you how loud it is. We don't want to put it in a case and then have to have our ear pressed up to the edge. If we say it's quiet like this, when you put it in your case, it's gonna be quieter, isn't it? It's not, you know, it's not rocket science. But anyway, so we managed to max it out. And the fact that with those scores, in both benchmark and game results, it was scoring as well, or if not better, than an overclocked 680, which, let's put this into, you know, kind of pound notes. This is going to be coming in the UK around the kind of, I've looked online, and because of the retailer issues, you're looking at about kind of 225 to about 240, depending. But until there's some, you know, decent retailers out there, you're never going to know. It could even come in less. But against the 680 kind of money, you're looking, you know, around the £400 mark still, sometimes even more. So you could even be thinking to yourself, well, it's almost half the price. But with a bit of work, smash it in there, a little bit of tweaking, I'm going to be getting scores as good as that. And something else you kind of need to remember as well, that the video memory on this has got more than the 680, because this is a 3GB card. It does say on there somewhere, but it's a 3GB card. Let's have a look. We've got the box here. There we go, look. 3072MB GDR5. So you've got that. So yeah, so you can do that, and you can have 680 speeds, or even, you know what I mean, maybe even more than 680 speeds. And normally when we would be talking 680 speeds, we'd be talking an overclocked 7950 versus a stock 680. But when this is overclocked, it's, you know, kind of trading blows with an overclocked 680, which is a massive, massive statement. And in the benchmark that we saw before, it was scoring better in a benchmark that favours physics. Back in the day when we only had, you know, 3D Mark Vantage was the latest benchmark out. We used to, but a lot of review sites would disable the physics testing on Vantage, because then it made the scores, they would say, that it would make the scores fairer towards AMD. Well, we never bothered. The fact that one card actually had a feature that another one didn't, that was a good enough reason for better scores for us. So still going by that principle where we leave physics on, now AMD's scoring better. So maybe those websites that used it before might want to be rethinking these things, really, mightn't they? But anyway, so the scores are epic. In game as well, absolutely brilliant. We're going to be using this in some videos later on in the week, because AMD have got this new Never Settle campaign coming out where they're going to be giving away 4 games. Now you do get games with this, but by buying the 7950 card, I'm pretty sure it's now up until somewhere in December, you get given another 4 games. And it's something, like I said, we're going to make some videos about that later on. So you get quite a lot of stuff in money. You get a card, you get your games, overclocking ability. And it's something, because we've only ever done 2 Club3D cards here at Overclock 3D in the past, and the one that Brian did was really, really good. So they asked me to have a look at this 7950, and it quite literally was, just have a look at it, see what you think. If you don't like it, don't review it. Now normally when people say that to me, that generally means it's shit, and can we get Tom in a good mood that he might look at it favourably? Well, the problem is when I first plugged it in, I was like, ugh, it's not that good. Give it a bit of an overclock, and it was like, whoa, it's amazing! To the point where this overclocks and goes that well, it makes me wonder whether it would honestly be worth, because I know I've just pulled my mic thing, it makes me wonder whether it would honestly be worth buying the 7970, because that goes like stink. We know that the 7970 is on par with a 680 normally, and then you overclock it, and yeah, that's normally when you get differences. But this is so bloody good. It's like, wonder if the 7970 would be that much better as well. But this, for the money, it's an absolute no-brainer. If you've got 250 quid in the bank and you don't know which kind of, whether to go green or whether to go red, this makes your life massively, massively difficult, because there's some other 7950s we've done in the past, and they've not been anywhere near this good overclocked. I mean, nowhere near this good. To the point where we even thought, nah, it's got to be those new drivers. They've done something with those new drivers. So we popped it back on like a really, really early 12 driver. I think it was 12 dead actually. We tried it on one of those. And although the scores did go down a little bit, just a little bit, that they were still up with overclock 680, kind of around that ballpark. So yeah, it's a bloody good card. Well worth the money. But you just need to be aware, it's a card for people to play with. It's not a card for people that just clip all their rig together and play it. If you're an overclocker, you like a bit of fun, you want to maybe tweak your rig so it's running the best it possibly can do, then it's well worth that. The only thing that some of you are going to gripe about is going to be that red PCB, and I can honestly say that probably if they'd have made that with a black PCB, they probably would have sold a lot more, because that is the only reason I can see you lot not wanting to buy it. But if I was you, especially those of you that out there don't necessarily have a window in your rig or something like that, or you've got red in your rig already, so a red PCB isn't necessarily going to be something that's going to make your eyes burn or something like that, then yeah, it's an absolute little corker. And another reason why I wanted to do this was because I got so much grief about the pile driver review. I stand by everything I said in that test. I think a lot of other people that did more favourable reviews were a little bit soft. But this type of thing just shows you what AMD can have to offer. And they do get shit right. And Club3D have obviously taken the 7950 core and gone, yeah, we can make that work and sing, do you know what I mean? Sing like a hummingbird. And it does, absolutely works, ticks all the boxes, works absolutely chuffing lovely. So I'm going to leave that because I know I'm starting to ramble now because I am paying for it. But Club3D 7950, and we've got the Royal King edition, overclocks like no one's business, is worth every penny that it's worth. The only thing I would say, Club3D, it'd be my only minor criticism, is please, a black PCB. But other than that, when you can pay for a card that's, you pay that sort of money for it, and you can overclock it, and it's, trading blows with an overclock 680, it's a no-brainer. These are one of those little Billy Bargain cards that only come up every now and then. Thoroughly deserves the Overclock 3D Gold Award. But for now, at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out. Ding! It still makes me chuckle when I do that ding. See, I pressed the bloody menu button. I'm going to have to stop using this remote.